Can you talk about a client?
Yeah. So I'm thinking of one particular client who for years and years has just had the worst sleep, regardless of, medication that they've been on, whether that's benzos or hypnotics or antidepressants, anti-anxiety meds, has been through a plethora of therapy, EMDR processing, pretty significant trauma history, and sleep has always been the biggest challenge. So for a very long time, she kind of resisted, whether or not ketamine was the right thing, feeling very anxious about, the dissociation that could occur and what that would look like for her.
It's a dissociative, so that's
Yes.
that's happening.
Yes. So once she went through the full 6 sessions, she has actually gotten off of most of her medication. The most important thing, she's gotten off of her sleep meds.
That's
So
awesome.
right now we're just doing supportive care, and she's doing wonderful, and she's able to shut her brain off at night. She's able to sleep through the night, and she doesn't have, that fight or flight.
Right.
It's turned off a little bit. She's able to sit within herself, and when triggers come up, she's able to identify what it is that's bothering her and not ruminate about it right before she sleeps.
Right. There's more space between that stimulus and
Right.
her response so that she can kind of attest to the truth of her current reality, right?
Right.
So awesome. I think that it got a lot of buzz because my experience has been, the big push for ketamine-assisted psychotherapy started with ketamine clinics that are primarily run by anesthesiologists,
Right.
and so they don't have any mental health training background, integrative work with trauma. Yeah, they know how to administer a medication, but they don't understand that a lot of this trauma happened in the absence of a caregiver that was supportive or safe. And so if they're going into a dissociative state in a dark room by themselves, that's terrifying. And so I became interested in becoming trained primarily because we were kind of cleaning up the mess of people who had gone that route,
Right.
desperate for help, desperate for support. And at the same time, they got the autonomic nervous system reset, but they were kind of additionally traumatized by the experience because they felt alone. And sometimes you feel a little untethered in that experience. And I mean, it's so beautiful to be able to put your hand out and have someone who's a grounding element of safety and trust and support with you in that experience. So maybe talk to us a little bit about any clients you've had that have gone either route and what their experiences have been.
So similarly, I've had clients that have gone through the intravenous ketamine process, right? And both that were, suicidal at the time, depressed, or having really significant trauma responses. And their experience has been completely different, doing the intravenous versus doing the oral or the intramuscular
Right.
route with a therapist, actually going through the reintegration process.
Right.
Whereas
That's
when they
everything.
did the intravenous route, it was exactly what you said. They went in there, they did the treatment, and that was it. There was no follow-up to that. And so they weren't able to process what they experienced, and those memories and feelings and emotions, they just kind of sat with those, and that's not really beneficial.
We're not bringing heart to mind and connecting
Right,
the body to the
awareness.
mind. And the other thing I love about it is I really believe in the triad of healing. It's mental, it's physical, it's spiritual. And I think the part of this that gives us access to this other dimension of imagination and elements of the experience that as a therapist I would never even consider saying. And also, how dare I? Because who am I to say what your spiritual travel should look like? And so for the fact that this gives us access to that inner self in a way that just talk therapy or bottom-up therapies just don't give us access to me has been so beautiful. And I know that in my own experience, and I'll share a little bit about it. One of my sessions, I was trying to figure out, I was actually input from one of my sons. He says, "Mom, you come in too hot. You've got all these opinions about what it is you think I need to be doing. And what I make up about it is you don't trust me that I'll figure it out, or if I do mess up that I'll be able to be resilient enough to figure it out." And I was like, whoa, that's a hard message as a mom to hear. And he's so right. And so I he told me that in between our first and our second experience. And I went in and I was like, I need to explore this, because the last thing that I want is for someone that I love to feel reluctant to come to me about things because of the way that I, in a way, make it about me, because I'm anxious that he's going to have a hard thing. And I try to insert my opinion, and I don't stay in my lane and all of those things. And so I went in and I was like, what is the part of me that does that? And what is that about?